I used to hide the fact that I was a trumpet player when I went in the Marines because I didn't want anyone to put me in some special box and say, oh, you could just play the trumpet in the band. I'm like, no, I don't want to play the trumpet in the band. Give me a fucking M16.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pirate Life Podcast. I've got a great guest tonight, but first I want to get cavemancoffee.com in your mouth. Get ready, drink it up. You're going to love this talk. It's with a good old friend of mine, Andy Petranek from CrossFit LA. He was one of the first CrossFits down like way back when. I think he was one of the first top 5 or top 10, or first 5 or 10 rather. So anyway, he's got a ton of information. Ex-Marine. He's adventure racer, and he's a great entrepreneur that is currently doing the Whole Life Challenge. If you look at wholelifechallenge.com, you can find out more about Andy's movement there into health, nutrition, and mindfulness. It's a fantastic fucking episode coming up. So please hit up cavemancoffee.com. Support us at Nuevo Cerveza. And if all you can do, guys, is follow us on Instagram and write a favorable review for us on Facebook, that would be great, man. Caveman Coffee needs it. The Pirate Life Podcast you can find on there, they need it. And if you could follow my producer, Man No Sober, I know you'll like the name, Man No Sober, Eric George, producer of these podcasts, and he is a fucking savage. And I really wouldn't even be inspired to do these, I don't think, without guys like him, particularly him. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate you so much, man. And Float Clinic down in Torrance. Please check them out. There's some great float places in Austin when we were just there too for Paleo Fx, where this was recorded. Really fantastic. You need to do that as much as you can. If you're in a city that has one, sign up on a subscription wherever that is and figure it out. Just get that shit done because it's good for your life. It's good for your brain. You're going to love it. I want to thank Natural Stacks. Also, Natural Stacks just sent me a load of stuff, and they have this best, the magnesium I've been using from them, I'm really loving a lot. They have a great caffeine pill that has great clean energy. It feels awesome. Don't ask me to compare it to Caveman Coffee, goddammit. It's different, okay? And they're both fantastic. Don't be like that. You guys on the internet, I mean, really, you got to settle down. It's too much. I can't take it. I just got beat up on the internet earlier today, and it's just so much. And there's always guys with private profiles. What is that private profile thing about? I don't understand. They'll have bad grammar, poor spelling, and private profiles. I don't get it. Anyway, God bless you. I love you all. And moving right along, please check this out. Andy Petranek. He's been a friend of mine for at least 10 years, maybe more. And he is a fantastic coach, man, father, entrepreneur, and just an all-around bad mofo. And I hope you all enjoy it. Without any more fucking around, let's get right into it. Ooh, and check out my Instagram because Andy has got a fantastic rendition of a squat with one hand over his head. It looks amazing. That'll be up on this for sure. I think that's got to be the prime photo that we used to advertise this one. Anyway, I love all your suggestions. I'm trying not to say and so much. It's very difficult. You just fill space with that instead of that dead space. And I'm like, are they going to stop listening with the dead space? I don't know. I'm just learning how to do all this. I'm learning with y'all. So, please stay tuned. Strap up. Guzzle some fucking coffee, and let's get into this. Andy Petranek, Pirate Life Radio.
A big Tait Fletcher.
Powerful Tait Fletcher
is a real alpha male.
Weightlifter.
He's a stuntman.
Movie star.
Robust, enthusiastic individual.
He's huge, by the way. He's like a monster person.
One of the sweetest guys I know.
He's bigger than life.
Actor.
Entrepreneur.
A fighter.
The jiu-jitsu technician.
He's also bald and he has all these tattoos. He's just a big fucking man.
A man, a myth, a legend.
Tait Fletcher.
Tait Fletcher.
Tait Fletcher.
What's up, Tait Fletcher, you bad motherfucker?
Tait Fletcher. Tait Fletcher is
Tait Fletcher.
Teddy bear motherfucking Fletcher, ladies and gentlemen.
That's Tait Fletcher, everybody.
The great Tait Fletcher. Tait the animal Fletcher. Tait the savage Fletcher. Always moving. There's no stillness with Tait Fletcher. You will find no dust.
Tait Fletcher's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. He just said the word erection.
Tait Fletcher.
Tait Fletcher's in the fucking house. Tait Fletcher!
Tait really blasts out some serious hardcore truth bombs, and I think you're really going to enjoy it.
Welcome to another episode of Pirate Life Radio. I'm here with a great friend of mine, Andy Petranek, who I've known for years and years. And Andy is one of the first coaches I ever met, maybe the first coach I ever met in CrossFit, and also founder of the Whole Life Challenge. And so, without any further rigmarole,
Are we on?
welcome, Andy. Yeah, we're on right now. You just want to speak directly into the microphone. You don't need that.
Just so I don't spit?
No, it's just well, it is. But then here, for our purposes, we're in the middle of this auditorium. It's just a buffer for sound, for like external sound for me.
Got it. All right, cool.
So, and Andy's also, I always forget this part. It's the weirdest part, bro, that you're a Marine.
I was a Marine. Yeah.
I mean,
I am
you
a
say
Marine.
you were a
Well, it's
Marine. I
funny.
said that to an Olympian one time. I'm like, oh, she was an Olympic gold medalist or something like that. She was an Olympian or something like that, I said, and I got instantly corrected.
Really?
Like, no. You're
I am.
yes, that's, and I'm like, well, you're 62. I mean, you're clearly not able to pull off the gag anymore. But
They say
anyway.
once a Marine, always a Marine.
That's what I would say.
So I
mean,
am
how
a
has that
Marine,
not
but
colored
it's-
your whole life?
But it's just it has. But it's weird. Like I'm not a Marine.
Right.
You know, like now
I'm not doing Marine
I'm not going
stuff.
fighting. I don't have an M16 and
Right.
around the corner.
That's
so.
the same way I think about people are like, well, you're a fighter. I'm like, not for a long time.
Right.
It's been a long time. Like, and I think there's the trouble.
I knew you when you were on the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah. The trouble becomes before then.
Yeah.
I knew you I knew you before you met that knucklehead John.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
When hey, we come do this seminar with this really fat guy that's not really about shit, but he does
He says he does Taekwondo.
God damn, he was. That's the thing too. It comes up a lot, Andy, anymore. I see it all the time. I say confidence without merit, and there's so many guys that have such confidence, and so many people are so insecure in this day and age, like because nobody really knows what's going on, and especially if you're like not aligning yourself with any religious doctrine or this or that, and saying, I don't know, it kind of looks like nobody really has the definitive answer. You're open to questioning things a lot. But if somebody comes along with a lot of confidence, even if they don't have any substance, people follow that. I mean, you look at Donald Trump, or you look at all these people right now. I think it's also the danger in coaching, to be candid, is like you see a lot of people that have a lot of bluster, but maybe they haven't really walked a road.
Well, it's so easy to become a coach. You know, like, I mean, look, you look at any kind of coaching, life coaching, fitness coaching. What do you need to be a life coach?
But life coaching,
you need
is
a business
the thing.
card, right? Yeah, I mean, like, you don't read, you need no training, you need no nothing. And some of the life coaches that have no training are actually really good.
Are excellent. It's like
so
something
it's hard
like
to
Bear
know.
Bryant never played football.
Really?
Or whatever. Yeah. He
I
wasn't,
didn't know that.
Yeah. Greg Jackson never had an MMA fight.
Wow.
It's crazy. I think I was puzzling on that the other day. I put out a Snapchat and I was like, so it just dawned on me. Fitness model is just that you have a default nice body and you happen to be on the internet with a camera and a bathroom mirror. Like that's now your fitness model.
Right.
Like when did that be? Like all these things that became things, you know?
Right.
And then I just heard Stephen Maxwell, and he was the kettlebell guy from out east, right?
Yep.
And then Max,
the guy that can do a one-legged pistol and jump up onto this table from the pistol.
And he's 65.
He's unbelievable.
And now he lives out of his backpack.
Overhead, I've never seen anything like it. Overhead pistol and leaping up onto a table.
Fantastic.
It's crazy.
Well, he was talking about coaches, and he'd said, unless you're 60 years old and you want to tell me that you're a coach, save it, kid. Kind of like, and he's just like, I've just seen so much. He says, I couldn't have known what I needed until now. He says, right now I'm looking at jiu-jitsu for life. And like, what does it look like? How do guys rep? How can you train in a sustainable way for the rest of it? He says, I want to be able to move for the rest of my life. How do I do that and mitigate injury?
Yeah,
And as an aging athlete, you start looking at those things.
No, it's become so important, such a big part of my training. I'm taking a break right now from CrossFit for the first time in like 12 years. I was back squatting about 7 weeks ago with very light. I was warming up with like 180 on the bar, and I just went down and I started coming up and I felt this pop, and it's a classic thing. I mean, I've seen it with a lot of other people. Stood up, put the bar down, walked into the other room like this, knew that I needed to be done my workout, and it came back relatively quickly. Like 2 days later, I could work out again. But then I redid it again with a deadlift like 2 weeks later.
Wow.
And a different place, but I just, I'm almost 50 years old. I don't need to be doing that. I don't need to be pulling 350, 400 pounds off the ground.
Right.
What am I doing this for?
Well, yeah.
Like, what's the fucking point? At some point, like, you have to look at
It's the
why.
first thing that you ask any athlete when they would come to you for help.
What are your
goals?
What are you trying to do? Right.
Yeah, where are we going?
And so I started to look at, what are my goals? And I,
You know what I heard earlier? Do you know where coach comes from?
the word?
Yeah.
No.
Ryan Muncie told me this earlier. He's one of the guys at Natural Stacks. He says, because we talked about that and how he says, I got to start from where people are. When I'm coaching them, like where they are diet-wise, you don't just tell them, do this. You don't just prescribe them the same thing. You got to start from where they are.
That's why the Whole Life Challenge. That's why we have the levels in the Whole Life Challenge.
Yeah, he says, do you know where the word coach comes from? I go, no. He goes, stage coach. He goes, you pick people up where they're at, and then you take them to where they want to go.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, mind blown right now.
That is awesome.
Mind blown. How cool is that?
Did he just make that up?
I don't know, man.
That's
but I'm
fantastic.
Using it. I love it.
Fantastic.
It's so good.
Wow.
Yeah. So then now you are at a 50-year-old, and so
I'm doing gymnastics right now.
I was going to ask how it's trained.
I'm doing some pretty advanced stuff. I think it's advanced. Not for a gymnast,
I'm sure
it's not
it is.
advanced.
But you're an excellent athlete and very adaptable as an athlete. You're well-rounded.
But there are things that have always bugged me that I can't do. Like I can't go to the bottom of a squat and hold one arm up. My arm, my body
you can't
won't
forward a little.
My body
bit.
won't. No, my body won't rotate. So like, I'll get in a squat, right, and I'll be down on the bottom of a squat, and I'll hold this arm down, and that's it.
Right.
I can't. I'm pulling. I'm pulling with my. I'm in a squat right now.
Yeah, he's squatted right now on a bench. So he's up off the ground, and he's got one hand planted, pulling himself into the bench, and he's trying to reach a hand over the top. I'll get a picture of this. This is going to be great. Yeah. And let's see. Here's the position. You can see this on my Instagram. This will be, perfect. Anyway.
And so, it was funny because Becca, that's how I met you, used to program one-armed dumbbell or kettlebell snatches with me on purpose because she knew she could crush me. I could do it with a 10-pound dumbbell.
Crazy.
And she could do it with a 50-pound dumbbell. I couldn't get my arm to go vertical. So
amazing.
Like that kind of thing, it still bugs me. Like what's going on that I can't do that? Is there something I can change? I'm sure it has to do with my really bad internal rotation in my hips.
Well, and the rotation of your shoulders.
But
got to have something to do with
more
that
down
girdle.
here. It's not just my shoulder, right? Because my shoulder is good.
So now you're figuring it out. Now you're just on a road to try to figure it out.
Yeah. This is kind of fun. Because I think mobility, as I get older, body control and mobility is really the name of the game for me. Length and like being able to go out and do fun stuff and not get hurt.
Yeah, I was right when I got up in the morning, I reached over to the coffee table to go and pick something up, and I'm like, and I just bend my knees a little, and it's not a big deal. And I'm like, when that becomes a problem, when you're like, ooh, I'm too stiff I'm gonna just, and I have to think about doing simple actions, you need to start addressing those things.
Right.
And those are the things that, are sure to come up. It's like your eyes start to get blurry at night. You might need to get some glasses.
Right.
There's all that stuff. And and really why are you in fitness is to take care of, for a while it was for sport for me.
Sure, me too.
But then it became a thing where it's like, now I want to do this for longevity's sake, and I want to do this to feel well, to look good, to be, I have different performance expectations.
But you want to feel good inside too, right? Like it's that's really why I do this.
I'm not there to beat it up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, for me, it started to bother me when I'm like hurting myself.
Right.
Like what? Like what the fuck fucking point?
and
Why
it's
am I
a-
doing this?
Because and you have to talk to your ego then.
Right.
And you go, what am I doing
Right.
here? I mean, for me in jiu-jitsu,
I can
with
pick
that-
up 400 pounds. What the fuck? What's your problem, body?
Right. I mean, and then there's younger guys that come in, and you go, okay, do you need to be the best guy in the room? Because you're going to get diminishing returns if you continue to try that.
Right.
You're not going to train even 4 days a week.
Right.
Maybe you'll train 3 days or 2 days and be able to recover. Like, you're not going to be able to do it if you have that kind of output.
Right.
So for me, even right now, I'm shortening the length. I go, I'm good in around a 12-minute. If I'm going to do like some kind of metcom, it's not going to be over 12 minutes probably. It'll be that. Because anything more than that, I'm getting diminishing returns. I'm not going to be able to move as well tomorrow. I'm not going to recover as well.
Right.
And I'm not having as much fun. The stress of it, I'm just like, I don't want to be in a 30-minute. I don't want to be, I've got zero interest in doing Murph.
Right, me too.
I'm 240 pounds.
We've done Murph.
There's no way I'm going to go and do that again.
So at CrossFit LA, we've done Murph every year for the last 12 years, 11 years. It's been since they started Murph. We've done Memorial Day Murph, and this will be the first year that I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to go. Like we do a thing in the morning.
It's a party,
But no, I have no interest. Like I just don't want to be. It's kind of like Cindy now for me. I used to love Cindy. Every time Cindy came up, like that was awesome, and it just I'm in such agony for a week after doing Cindy because I don't train for it.
Right.
I don't do the volume that it takes to be ready for that.
Right.
So
Cindy, for those listening, it's a 20-minute AMRAP that you're going to go and you're going to do 5 pull-ups, you're going to do 10 push-ups, and you're going to do 15 body weight squats. And so you're going to get as many rounds of that as you can get. And
if you're good, you do over 20,
Right.
you do over 1 a minute, and that means you're at 300 squats.
yeah, you're in a lot of repetitions.
You know, the pull-ups you're at 5. Well, if 5 times 20 is 100, you're at 100 pull-ups. I mean, it's a lot of reps.
It's a tremendous amount of work.
And it's Murph. Actually, it's Murph. 20 rounds of Cindy is the same.
And you pack it into this horrific kind of
20 minutes
construct,
right?
And then get after it.
It crushes you.
And it's interesting, that idea too, because on different days you're a different Cindy. You know what I mean? When you come into it, maybe you can only get 12, and then you do 24 or 19 or something, which is like, it's crazy the differences depending on how you're feeling, how rested you are.
Right.
What I've noticed, like if I get working, like I've been, it's sometimes if I'm on set, I'm not working out, and maybe it'll be for a week, maybe it'll be a week and a half, because there's just not the avenue to.
Yeah.
So I'll take rubber bands, like I'll go to Westside Barbell and get bands, and I'll do like some kind of banded exercise, whether it's seated good mornings or something like that. Some kind of get my whole body pumped.
Bands like the rubber bands
Like
we used to
elastic
use,
bands,
the pull-up bands.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll take those with me, but if it's not that mobile and I can't just do it and then be done with it, and I can't be in costume and do it, like I can't, like I have to be able to do it in cowboy boots if I need to, or whatever it is. So
right.
whatever the thing is, but what I find in that is that then I sleep for a day or two after I get done, and I go back and I'm stronger than I was before. And that's the thing that started speaking to me about recovery and recuperation, and going, I had to consider I'm never recovered.
Right,
I never
right.
have been fully recovered, not in years.
Right.
You've never had adequate, and which is a trip to think about, to go, I'm way better an athlete after I don't do anything for a week and a half.
That's what the gymnastics stuff I'm doing right now is I'm following what's called Gymnastics Bodies, which
I know those guys.
Chris Sommer is the U.S. men's or women's national gymnastics team coach, and he was the original gymnastics CrossFit coach back in like 2004. And I think he and Glassman didn't see eye to eye around kipping.
Okay.
Sommer was
I'd read a little article about that.
Very rigid in his thoughts around kipping. Kipping is like the Antichrist, right? Just don't do it. There's no point until you get the strength to be able to do X number of strict pull-ups. It just doesn't belong
I just had a
in the
thing
repertoire.
in my gym. I was watching one of the coaches over at Undisputed, and two things that I've changed my mind about as far as CrossFit coaching goes. I say, hey, how about we don't do any more of the American kettlebell swing?
Right.
I don't see any
stopped
point in
that
it.
too.
I don't see any point in it at all.
Yep.
And then how about also, I'll say why I believe that is because I believe the only reason it was ever there was as a marker in competition to say everybody's meeting a certain standard. Now we can talk about an increased metabolic response of going the extra.
Increased power. I mean, that was what Glassman used to say. But I don't really buy it. I think it's more of a marker so that we're fair. So we all have the same standard. Yeah.
And I don't see why to do it for the diminishing returns that you will get off of perhaps having shoulder problems. Like there's just no reason to.
It's not just shoulder. It's thoracic spine. It's lower back.
I found it in my lower back too.
Right.
A huge way. And if you're not really tightening, and if you even if you swing really well, when you get tired, you're going to find yourself getting diminishing returns for what your output is. That being one thing with the kettlebell swing. So I'm going, unless it's a girl workout or something, or unless you're trying to keep a standard, who cares? Let's not do that. And let's not be a part of that anymore.
Right.
And then the next thing is the way the programming was if you can do them, you go ahead and do kipping pull-ups, and we're going to do 10 or whatever. And if you can't do them, you have to do strict pull-ups with a band.
Right.
And I said that's backwards to my way of thinking. I was telling the coach, and he says, well, why is that? And I said, because a lot of people can kip that can't do a single pull-up.
Right.
I mean, that's a thing, and it also means that you're not really deeply in control.
Right.
And so that's dangerous. It's a dangerous thing now.
Right.
Now that's the thing. It's a dangerous thing. And so that, and he was like, he was a younger dude. He was like, wow. He says, okay, that's a great point.
Well, because it puts all the requirement of stability on the joint instead of the muscle. You don't have the strength in your muscles to hold your joint together, and it puts all this undue pressure in that joint and the tendons and
so
connective
on
tissues.
Tendons and ligaments,
and they're not designed to do that. No. Not in the average person.
Well, I mean, you're being rude.
You could train to get there, but
you're being rude to your goddamn body also,
right?
Because you're asking your body to do some shit. Like it'll do it for you as much as it can, but goddamn, that's ill-mannered, and there's a breaking point there. At a certain point, your body goes, you know what? You're being rude to me. Cut it out. And when your body does that to you, that's usually in the result of some tearing.
And then you go see doc, and they sew it back up.
Yep. And you don't want to get cut open.
No,
nobody does.
Rather not.
So anyway, that's those are the things that I'm seeing being. So
the program.
So what does Summers say?
So he's very, very rigid and in his system. He created a system. It's a little bit like it reminds me of CrossFit back in the old days. It's very jargony. It's very, like you don't really understand it when you first get in there. I had to go into the forums and ask questions. I felt like a complete moron.
Really?
I mean, a lot of abbreviations for things that I just didn't understand. A lot of like I'll show you my workout journal.
Like 1, 2, 1, and then 0?
No, not like OPT, not like that stuff. Here's it's going to look like chicken scratch. I'm going to pull out my training journal that I did this morning.
I feel like I'm excited that there's a broadening conversation.
So here's just look at the first line of each one of those things. That means something.
Right. So I'm looking at SL and then a /PE8. What's that mean?
Side lever, and I'm on it's the progression number 8.
Wow. And MN?
That's a mana.
What's that?
It's I don't even know what a mana is. That's what I'm training for. It's a mana is a gymnastics move. I think you hang from the rings and you hold this position.
You bad motherfucker. God damn, Andy. You always impress me, man.
It's cool. It's fun being a beginner.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that sucks about being a coach. Every little nerd out there, they're like, I don't know, being a young man is hard. And you go, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And then you get a little good at some athletics. And you're like, I know, I'll be a coach. I'll be a jiu-jitsu coach. I'm going to be, you know what? I'll own a CrossFit gym.
Right.
Okay, dum-dum.
Right.
Go ahead. Good luck.
Right.
Losing all your mom's money. Like, it's not like that. And also, even if it's super successful, you can easily fuck yourself if you ever really want to be about something. Because being a coach isn't necessarily really being about something. You're giving something away. It's not about like, I'm going to go and I'm going to try to challenge myself and get through another thing, because you stop being a student. And so if you're done doing all the things athletically you want to do, by all means do that. And then that'll mean you've merited the position. But if you haven't,
you've got to
be careful.
You've got to, before you can give it away, you've got to earn it.
Right.
like, what can you give when you're 20?
You know,
you don't
they
have
all
nothing
do.
to give yet. I mean, it's not that you don't have anything to give. I mean, I've learned some things from 20-year-olds, but not because I've hired them as my coach.
Right.
You know, they just. I mean, when I was 20, I didn't have anything to give to anybody else.
You know,
I was
the
too
other
busy
thing is,
sponging it
what's
up.
worse
you know?
than seeing a 20-year-old that thinks they know, and
Right.
you're just
Right.
you're like, ugh, thanks,
Right.
I guess. I mean, and whatever, you don't know what you don't know. But like for me, I think I look at that stuff and I go, you got to suffer. And you got to
Right,
love
right.
suffering for a long time. I wasn't thinking about coaching until I was put in a position where there was dudes that were yearning for information around me, and there was nowhere, and I had a lot of experience, you know? And having a lot of experience, people then come to you. But the thing is, not having much experience and going, well, I'm a, blue belt and I'm in a remote area, so I know a little bit. It's like, you're not only robbing any potential students, but you're robbing yourself of ever being able to get an experience because you're pretending you're something that you haven't yet merited.
Right.
And that's
right.
a troubled position, man. I've been saying to my guys lately, I go, hey, because they all trip about where they ought to be in life, especially when you're in your mid to late 20s, early 30s even, and they're like, what am I going to do? And I go, listen, man, this is all a time to sharpen your sword.
Right.
This is a time to
Exactly.
become you.
Right.
Get character, have experiences, go explore.
Do the inner work. Do the inner work. Do
and
the
it
outer
is,
work.
yeah.
Whatever work you need to do. And like, right.
And I go,
you're
they're
30 till 50.
If you get to be
20 till
excellent,
50.
if you get to be super excellent at that thing, whatever that thing is, you'll know how to be excellent at other things.
See, I still feel like I'm doing that. Like
I'm a
I mean, and
beginner
shit,
every
I've been
day.
a coach for a long time, but I'm still a beginner. I love being a beginner.
I know the truth of it that I've forgotten more than a lot of coaches are ever going to know that are practicing coaches right now. And I also know the truth of it that I don't rest on that or build myself in any way on that. And I'm a beginner every day. I try to go out and I don't want to just be a black belt in this mono-dimensional kind of thing. I want to be a black belt in life. I want to be well-versed in all of life. And I go, your money's to be made in your late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Worry about money then.
You're going to love
right
this.
now, you're doing great.
I developed this philosophy. I don't really know where it came from because I've thought back a lot on like, where did I come up with this? But when I was in my 20s, I thought, okay, here's how my life's going to go. I'm retired now. I'm retiring. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to see the world. I'm going to be a Marine. I'm going to mess around. I had a job, but I was, my job was what I paid my bills with. I was responsible, but I partied and I figured, this is when I was in my 20s. I figured when I'm 35 or 40, then I'll start working. And it's exactly the way my life went. Like
so good.
I opened the gym when I was 2004. So I was 30, 66, 76, 86, 96. Yeah, I was 35.
So I must
36.
have met you like a year after you opened Petranek Fitness.
Yeah, it was early.
It
was really early.
It's great. And then even you think about the coaching that what you were, even as an experienced guy,
right?
To what
I had experience coming into CrossFit. I had a lot of experience,
right? And you think about what you didn't know, and it's just like.
And I went to work with Glassman. I mean, my first seminar. I was telling somebody the other day. My first seminar with Glassman, the certification that was 3 days, not 2 days,
was with him.
Oh yeah, it was with him, and it was like we had 5 people. There were 5 people who were new from all over the country, and like 12 people that were Santa Cruz trainers who had been around Glassman, who had never really come to a 3-day thing with him.
And he's probably wanting to show them so he doesn't have to do them all in the future. He's like, you're my
and
next
they were building
trainers.
the program. They were taking pictures and they were using pictures for the journal. They were publishing the journal, and that was back in the days when Glassman was writing the journal. Like those journals. I mean, I was so.
He's a genius, right?
Absolutely.
There's
absolutely.
unequivocally.
I was hook, line, and sinker.
I hear anybody say this or that, and I'm like, the guy is a goddamn genius and a heart of gold.
Absolutely. And I mean, look, I think I'm willing to look at my strengths and my weaknesses. I don't know how willing he is, but he's not a CEO.
Right.
I mean, I wish. Well, he is a CEO. He's the CEO of CrossFit. He has always been the CEO of CrossFit. But I think there were many opportunities for CrossFit to separate the movement of the affiliates and the movement of the people from the sport of fitness.
So the sport of fitness, though, is new. A few years old.
The games,
right?
Right from 2011 is when it really exploded.
but what I think about Glassman, when I think if somebody were to say, what is Greg Glassman, you would for sure
I love the guy.
For relevance sake,
changed my life.
To tell him like, well, you have to have he did make this, but I would say like, who is he? He's a dreamer. He's an idealist.
Yes.
I don't think of him as a CEO businessman. I think of him as an idealist and a dreamer. And what the guy is
visionary. He's a visionary
for sure.
Yeah.
And you hear anything like about this, he had polio when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Like it's like all that is like crazy.
Yeah.
And surpasses. Talk about a guy that has erased can't from his lexicon.
Right.
And in that, like when I met him, it was through Scotty Nelson, whose lovely fiance owns Paleo Balls here. That is, you can find her at Paleo Angel. It's my biggest interim plug. But
Paleo Balls, what a name.
But we were blacklisted from CrossFit, from all CrossFit events, because Rob Wolf is on our board of directors, and because I would go to Rob, and so all people know is like
CrossFit LA has been blacklisted for years. I don't really know why. I've just had some of the writers for the Journal tell me that CrossFit LA is on the blacklist.
Interesting. Well, so I found out, and because we were trying to do regionals and we weren't, and then Scotty was like, dude, I helped Glassman move into his first gym. He owns On the Mat, and so they were very intertwined up north, and he's been old friends with Glassman. So then I got talking to him
in Arizona, in Phoenix, in Prescott,
in Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz.
And so then I start talking to him. I'm in the booth, we're watching the games, and he's like, "Oh, you're an affiliate owner." As soon as he hears I'm an affiliate owner, thank you so much. He's like full of like an authentic gratitude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, cool. And then we talk for maybe an hour before it comes up that I've got Scotty's like, he's got a coffee company too. He goes, "Oh, are you here?" And I go, "No, we aren't allowed to be here," or whatever. And he's like, "Why is that?" And I tell him the story. He's like, "Ah, man, that's just a wide net that gets thrown, and that's just some silly shit." He's like, "Let's erase all that." And he calls a guy over. It's his corporate attorney. He's like, "Hey,
Dale Saran.
Make sure all this is all good, okay?" And then he introduced me to Jimmy, who was running CrossFit Ethos at the time.
Oh yeah, Jimmy,
and
Jimmy Letchford, yeah.
And what a great guy he is too. And so anyway, this whole community sprung up, and all friends. And he says, "Well, so what do you think about the games?" Because that's the other thing people say is that like naysayers about CrossFit, they talk about it's dangerous, it hurts, et cetera, all the stuff, whatever. Yeah. And I said, well, I think it's kind of silly. It's like it's a show, right? It's a circus. And I go, it's not CrossFit to me. He goes, well, what's CrossFit to you? I said, well, there's a lady at my gym that stopped taking her diabetes medicine, and she lost 100 pounds. Right. And her kids look at her differently. And then her friends came in because they believed, because they saw mom did it, and like she changed the community. And I said, the more people you change like that, you change whole towns, you change cities, then you change people's fucking lives.
Right.
And I go, that's what CrossFit is. CrossFit empowers the least of us to become the best of us.
Yeah.
And it shows us all that we can reach a higher standard. And it gives a fucking standard where there's not a standard in the United States. Everybody thinks a standard makes life harder. A standard makes life easier. It makes it a playing field that you can look at and that you can go, okay, I know what these rules are, and I'm going to abide by them, and I'm going to find out where I fit in there.
It's a standard and it's a structure. Like the Whole Life Challenge came out of my participation in CrossFit. Like we created this structure around which people can organize their thoughts around their daily habits and their life, and we put it together in a way with some points.
It's an examined life.
Right.
The Whole Life Challenge is.
Right.
Yeah, and I go and to watch
structure actually doesn't limit you. It actually supports you.
Well,
that's the crazy thing.
Yeah, the saying, the road gets narrower and the horizon gets broader. It does that. And I go, and it's not impressive for me to see Jason Khalipa power clean a car. He's supposed to do that. That's what he's supposed to do.
Right.
And I go, and the weights, I said, these people, it's not sustainable. It's like MMA is not sustainable. People are getting so good that you're breaking people way earlier than they, And so this isn't CrossFit. It's a different thing than that. And I think it, like you're saying, there needs to be a division between the two in that way.
I just saw really clearly, back in that time when I'm just going to take a little Snapchat video. I just figured out Snapchat.
Oh, good for you.
So,
what's your Snapchat name?
Andy Petranek. I'm sure. I think
I fucked up. I made mine Taitimusmaximus, and I should just all your social media. It should just be you.
Mine's just my name,
right?
All of them.
My mom was
very boring.
My mom was she's like, she makes an Instagram. She's like, I don't know what to call it. Should I call it? Like she's looking at sneaky names. I'm like, you're an artist, and you would like to have your art be seen by people.
Yeah.
Yet you want to hide your name publicly. She's like, yeah, I'm just nervous about it. She's so adorable. But it's generations, right? The generation thing is real.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I downloaded Snapchat about, I don't know, 4 months ago. Couldn't figure it out. Then Dizzle, you know Diz Rivera?
Yeah.
So Dizzle gave me a lesson at the gym. She, what are you doing?
She and her kids must love Snapchat.
Oh, she uses it all the time. She loves it. So she gave me a lesson. A day later, I couldn't figure it out again. Then another guy at a bike shop gave me another lesson. I still couldn't figure it out.
At a random bike shop.
Well, it's a bike shop I tend to go to. Like, it's near my house, and like it's where I bought my son's bike, and I take my bike when I need service. And I don't know. It just never. I couldn't figure it out. And then Stanwyck gave me a lesson. Embo gave me a lesson.
Embo knows.
Embo really knows. Jesus Christ, she knows.
That girl's
but then
on it.
something clicked yesterday. So I was at
when Embo first told me about it. I was just like, how about you just text me?
Right.
Oh, it's a thing that disappears. I don't get it. Go ahead and text me.
Right. Totally.
I know.
So then yesterday, Mike Bledsoe gave me a little like I don't know, 3 minutes. Like, kind of refreshed what everybody else had said. He showed me that if you take a picture of somebody's, did you know this? You take a picture of their thing and it adds them automatically. That's like magic. It's really cool.
To me, it is.
And
some sorcery
somehow clicked. Like, I get it. I've been taking videos all day long of my escapades. It's kind of fun. Like, you don't feel bad for clogging up Instagram. Because it's your feed. If somebody doesn't want to watch, they just don't watch it.
I had a guy private message me and he goes, hey dude, love you, but you snap an awful lot. I'm like, hey, how about you're about to get welcome to the block party, motherfucker, and you can go ahead and not follow me, but
just
please
don't watch.
Don't speak to me.
But just don't watch. Like,
so funny.
That's the cool
you're
thing.
You're in complete control of this,
right.
Knucklehead. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting, man.
So I don't remember what we were talking about.
I don't either.
Glassman.
I want to talk about the whole life challenge.
Yeah, cool. So the structure from CrossFit, like that was one of the things that really got me into CrossFit, because I came from the Marines. Like, I came from this world of high structure.
You want another coffee?
More fat than coffee.
More fat than coffee.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm into fat.
You're not afraid of poopy pants.
Will it do that?
MCT, if you take too much MCT.
I do coconut oil. I don't do MCT.
Okay, same
thing?
Yeah. You know what you should have? Have you ever had paleo fudge? Oh, dude. Yes, in both. In both. We'll have that. So fat fudge, my friend Mary Shinauda at Paleo Chef on Instagram and everything, she has. But this has like, I'm going to read the ingredients. It's tahini, grass-fed butter, honey, cacao, turmeric, maca, ground coffee, cinnamon, ground vanilla, sea salt, and cayenne. Gluten-free. Paleo,
are they here at the thing? At the FX?
She's here, but she doesn't have a thing here. And it's only like, in this whole thing, I think it's like 4 grams of sugar or something like that, or carbohydrates.
Do they add sugar? Nothing. Is it like maple syrup or anything?
This is like honey, a little bit.
Right.
But you go ahead and just squeeze that in your mouth. Paleo fudge, dude, and it is goddamn phenomenal. Wow. Just put your mouth right on it and get in there. How good is that? If you're and so like I'm in a ketogenic state.
You know what's really good is that it's not too sweet. Like when you said fudge, I was expecting kind of like sweet.
You know what else you should try? What we're doing right now is hibiscus tea, and we have that, and it's completely unsweetened.
That's yours?
No caffeine. It's ours.
You have a tea?
Yeah, we're not playing games over here. We're trying to get in the world. You know. I can't be kept down anymore by the man. The man is up there trying to press it. I don't know if you watch DJ Khaled ever, but stay away from they. Stay away from they. They don't want us to have paleo fudge. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and eat that fat fudge anyway. They don't want us to be podcasting from Paleo Fx. You know what we're going to do, Andy? We're going to podcast from Paleo Fx. You know what I'm saying?
Great. Awesome.
Yeah. They don't want us to be free. You know what we're going to do?
Do you want some of this?
We're going to celebrate freedom.
Come and eat this whole thing.
If you don't get it up, gobble it up.
Man, this is good.
So
so the whole life challenge came out of this structure, right? So like the funny
and
story.
you saw a need for it probably because you'd been like talked to about it a lot by
Well, what I saw was my clients at the gym. So they would come 2 to 4 times a week or 5 times a week.
Right.
And then they go back to their life and do the same stupid shit that they've always done. They'd sit badly. They would not go to sleep at night. They would, get 4 hours of sleep.
Even
they
leave your TV on while you're asleep. All that.
Fall asleep in front of the television.
All the stuff that doesn't seem like it matters. That's the interesting
all
thing,
the little
too.
things.
What I like about it, people are like, why do you fuck with the whole life challenge? And I go, listen, because at least half of the guys that run it are awesome guys. And then I said, but the real answer is no. I don't need help with my diet. I don't need help with my movement and all that. But what it does is it adds a discipline and a structure that I don't always have. There's never a point where it doesn't raise my awareness.
Right.
It brings my awareness to a higher level. And if I get aware of every bite that I'm taking, of every movement that I'm making, it's almost like making the art of pouring tea, like that the Japanese culture can celebrate.
Right.
It becomes like that in your whole life. You're living life consciously, and that's what I love the most about the whole life challenge.
That's the key.
And so it's valuable for everybody.
I mean, I've done 13 challenges. This is my 13th, and I always wondered if I would keep playing each one. And what I find each time I do it is I don't put any pressure on myself. I don't have to be perfect. I don't try to.
And that's the thing. I want to iterate that it's a game. When he says I played the last, it's an important thing to say because the thing is I'm not trying to have a perfect score. And a loose idea of it, if you guys don't know, you can find out about it at wholelifechallenge.com. But and any Undisputed Fitness always has the biggest team in the world.
Always.
And,
I don't remember the last time that they haven't had the biggest team in the world.
Yeah, it's fantastic, man. Heather McKernan and Nate Harris down there smash it. Can we get a hibiscus tea for him too? We got Keith Jardine over here. He's playing waiter for us. This is amazing.
I've never met Keith. I've always been scared. I've always been scared to say hello to him because I've seen what he's done to people on TV.
Yeah, dude, at the gym at Jackson's, you'd go into training. There'd be guys because if you're a lightweight, fuck you is what like Keith would never say that because he's a gentleman, but that's kind of what he felt like. Right. You'd be like, oh, you know so and so. He's like, how much does he weigh? Oh, like 170. He's like, I don't really know any of those guys. Like he does, you know what I mean? And it's a real familial thing. There's only like 30 of us there or something. Right? He's like, yeah, I only know these 6 guys that I train with all the time. That's it. And then those guys are like, hey, like I remember one time a guy came up. He goes, hey, you know what happened? Keith said hi to me today. And you're looking at apex killers that get fucking giddy because Keith smiled and said hello.
That's funny.
It's hilarious.
That's funny.
Anyway, this game, the whole life challenge, well, what I want to say before I get sidetracked from it is that it's a game. And so I allow myself the points. I'm like, I'm not trying to have perfect scores. All I'm trying to do is and so it goes back to, you got to know where you're going. All I'm doing is trying to be more conscious and bring up my game of awareness. And I'm trying to heighten that.
Right.
And so that being
I'll play the game and specifically focus on one area and not worry about the points in the other areas.
The first few times I used to break my neck at it though. I need to win.
For me right now it's mobility. I can't go this challenge. My commitment is to not miss a day of mobility. Now I missed a whole day of scoring because I forgot to log my score one day. Right. But I so far have been successful at mobilizing every day. So some of the other things I let go of, and you know, it like you said, I mean, I couldn't say it any better. Is it keeps you conscious, it keeps you awake, it keeps you accountable to something. Yep. You know, like rather than your own devices. And you know, the nice thing about it too is I have apps that I can stay accountable to. I never stay accountable to the apps. I have a habit tracking app that I check into. There's no people. There's nobody else doing it, you know. So
community, man.
Like the way we run the way we run the challenge is we only have it available 3 times a year. It's an event, right? So it's not an app you can go download. Like right now, people are going to be frustrated if this podcast goes up.
Right, yeah.
They're going to be like, "Fuck, I want to do it, but it doesn't start till September."
Yeah.
Yep, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and get excited about it.
Right.
And start. You know, you can train for it at different degrees.
It's tough. It's a tough business model because we don't have anything for anybody to do for 3 months, you know. But we're willing to, like, we think that that there would be, we'd lose too much of the soul of the challenge if we just made it available anytime to anybody to play.
It sullies it.
Right.
Anything that you have in excess you don't appreciate, you know. Right. And so there is that, and it's also you know, I think people need the breath in between it. It's important to let yourself breathe into it, and so you can fulfill desire. You know, like I need to create the desire in order to have the desire. Now that's the hibiscus tea, and it's cold brewed, and like 0 sugars. It's 0 caffeine also.
Does it come in is it one of your products that's out or it's not out yet?
It's not out yet. We're going to can it, and so it'll be in grocery stores soon.
Wow, it's good.
Now this is keto cream.
Is it caffeine?
No caffeine, 0 caffeine.
So it's an herbal tea, or
it's an herbal tea. Now we're going to have a yerba mate and a matcha and all that also.
Wow.
Yeah. We're just, one of the biggest inspirations for the tea for me had been Ari Shafir, is a comedian friend of mine who doesn't do any caffeine at all. He's just herbal teas, and he's like, hey, you ought to try this. I'm like, it would be all like somebody saying, hey, you stop selling beef jerky. I'd like to have a tofurkey. And I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm never going to do that. That's how I felt about it until I started playing with teas, and then I was like, my God, this is
Now, do you put
phenomenal.
anything? Do you ever put any oils in it, or
you can't blend fat in there. You can blend MCT in there if you'd like.
Because a lot of times when I get
coffee blended with this keto cream from this company, Prove It, and it's 15 per serving, 15 grams of fat.
That's good.
And that's blended with our coffee, and only 4 grams of carbs, and so it's really a high fat, and that's where I've been getting all my energy. I mean, I was talking with Ryan Muncie earlier about how you derive your energy, and that's. I can't. I see guys that operate well on high carb diet. I just can't. I'm not one of those guys.
Are you keto?
Yeah, I just need to have all fat and very low carbs. I keep all my carbs. If I'm having success at it, I'm under 100 grams a day.
And what do you do? You have vegetables and fruit, and that's basically
I don't eat any fruit.
No fruit.
If I have the carbohydrates that I'll indulge in would be rice or sweet potatoes.
Okay.
Sometimes sauces with mild sugars in them.
What do you do for fiber?
I usually take psyllium husk.
Oh, you do?
Or I take. I've been taking lately this nice prebiotic that Natural Stacks does, and it's a resistant starch, and so that's also been a thing. But then I'll look also for fermented things. I'll go, pickles or sauerkraut, something to that effect.
I love sauerkraut.
Yeah. It's important. I mean, all that stuff. What really turned me on to get to a higher degree is because I was aging at the same time, and I was getting turned on to different information. So I was like my own guinea pig with whether it's the zone diet. I'm going to do it 100%. I'm disciplined. I'm going to do it 100% if I'm going to do it, or else I know I don't have a result I can talk about. So I want to know about the result. And so I did that, paleo, primal, all this stuff. And at the same time, Randy Couture got interviewed, and he said this beautiful thing. They said, hey, how do you feel? You're 42. You're out here competing against these guys that are 24.
Yep.
And, is it tough for you to, go through a camp, get in shape and all that stuff? He said, there's no getting in shape.
Right.
He goes, I don't get in shape. He says, I used to be able to go out 26, 28, 32, go out and blow it out and party after a fight or something or after an event. And then you give me 6 weeks, 8 weeks, I'll have a good camp and I'll be in fight shape. He says there's not getting into shape anymore.
Right.
If I'm fighting to get into shape, this is the part that I added to that. He says I have to stay in shape was the end of his thing.
Right.
And what I look to that is, I look at champions, and I look at it in the sport of mixed martial arts because that's what I know the most about. But I'd see this with fighters. You have you work towards the event, and part of that is dialing your weight in, the weight cut, the training, the work for a specific opponent. Then you have the fight, and then regardless of what happens, you have a depression after the fight. There's all that there's a severe depression that happens for every fighter after the fight. And
really?
Yeah.
Win or lose,
it doesn't matter.
Mental depression, emotional depression,
mental and a physical. Like you'll get back in the gym right away, but you're not really feeling great. And part of that is that you've had this huge build up to this event, and now it's over. And then the other part of it is a nagging anxiety. The fucking phone's going to ring. Is the phone going to ring again first? Am I going to be able to make a living? Is the phone going to ring again? Secondly, oh my God, the phone rang and they got a guy for me. Who's the guy? What's he going to? And everybody, there's nobody that gets that thing. I mean, there's guys that are like, dude, I was so excited. Yet there's always that feeling though that is injected in there of like, fuck, I'm gonna do this again. All right, fucking, and you get right and you go through it. And there's
is there doubt too? Like, can I do it?
All of that stuff. Am I gonna get hurt? Will I be healthy?
Right.
What's this gonna mean to my family? Is this gonna push away my girlfriend more? Is it like there's 1,000 conversations that are happening in that moment that just becomes an overwhelming stress. So in that way,
you think, and that's at top level all the way down to.
I know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. I know guys that are top level that people would be surprised that had been undefeated for 20 fights, that had walked out, like all that stuff, and that are hoping. I go, what's going on, man? When on the walkout, what's going on right now? Oh, well, nothing. I go, dude, you're not in your head. I go, what's going on? He goes, Tait, I hope I just fucking trip and I fall and I hit the steps on the way out and I knock out and I don't have to fight.
This is what they're walking out to the fucking ring?
This is going to happen. It's happening in like an hour or 20 minutes. But that buildup and the stress of going is a lot, man. And those are top level guys that are belt contenders right now today. That's happening at every level.
Wow.
Now, not every fighter is the same, but there's some variation of. So there's all that happens. So health-wise, diet-wise, psyche-wise, and I think that then you have the fight. Then you go ahead. I'm going to eat all the pizza. I'm going to have some ice cream, and you give yourself all that stuff, and then you get into worse shape, and then the phone does ring, and then we're going to have a camp again. We're going to get back in, and so now part of it is losing weight. So the more I'm losing weight,
Randy was like, he doesn't do that.
Trying to get into shape. What kind of room is left in my circle? If my fitness is a circle, if my wellness as a fighter is a circle, and I have some for recovery, I have some for weight, awareness and cutting weight, and I have some for stamina, and then I have some for skill. Well, if I'm using a lot for all that other shit, I don't get much better. The skill wedge gets smaller and smaller and suffers. If I'm just in shape and I'm ready, that's what we see with like a Holly Holm or something. Holly's always in shape. And Cowboy is always in shape. Those people are ready to go all the time. And anymore, if you're a fighter that's not always ready to go, your skill level's not gaining. Now, Cowboy, Holly, they can always work on their skills because they're always ready in all these other ways. And so that whole thing about preparedness and awareness, I think, becomes a huge component, and I think we're seeing that in events like CrossFit also. There's no longer a 250-pound Spieler and a 143-pound.
Did you say a 250-pound Spieler?
143-pound
I want to see that guy.
And a 250-pound Kalipa. That are both vying for 5th place. Now it's guys are 174 to 203.
And
that's it. And that'll get narrower in the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
And now also it won't just be toughness and skill. You're going to have to be genetically predisposed to doing those things. And so that's changed in 5 years. Drastically. And it's interesting when you get those because the consequences for not being dialed in are steep. Now, it doesn't mean you can't be great somewhere else. But you can't be great there anymore.
It's like Josh Bridges. Like how guy's amazing. He's not the stereotypical CrossFit athlete. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like with him in the games.
I bet he walks up to the podium.
It's his first year. He hasn't been a active duty SEAL, right? Like this is
that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Goddamn.
So he's been full-time training.
I talked to him on the phone a little while ago, and I was lucky enough to get introduced to him by my friend.
I've never met him.
My friend Andy Stump.
Oh, cool.
Because I was like, dude. That dude, I love his mustache. I'm like, whatever. I don't know much about CrossFit or whatever. I'm just like, wow, that dude looks, whatever. And then I hear, I go, fuck, I bet that dude medals. I go, I wonder if he drinks coffee. And, cause that's my opener, if I have a man crush on somebody, I'm going to get him with a little coffee. And then I see him, dude, the best picture in my mind from regionals is Josh is walking away, and he's got his 2 little boys with him, and they're all kind of walking staggered, and they all have that same mousy brown curly hair. And I'm just like, that's a beautiful father-son image right there. And then I go, well, I'd like to reach out to this guy, and somebody's like, well, here's his agent's number, and I'm like, I don't talk to those people. Like, if you got a manager, like, good luck. Like, I'm not interested. Those guys are always, if that's your job, I'm sorry, but. Then I talked to Andy. I go, hey, dude, I heard that dude. I said, do you know Josh Bridges? And he goes, yeah. He says, I was teaching Buds when he went through.
Oh, wow.
Cool. And I go, awesome. I was like, put me in touch. And so he writes this text, and so I'm going to do a podcast with Josh.
Oh, that's great.
Which would be awesome, man.
That's great. Before the games?
Yeah, like in the next couple weeks.
That's great.
Yeah. Dude, what a cool motherfucker.
Yeah.
I mean, just all those guys, though, too. I was filming a movie a couple weeks ago, or a TV show, and part of it was cold. We were in canyon country, but it was 2 a.m. or whatever till like 6 a.m.
Like Utah, like southern Utah?
No, canyon country in LA.
The fuck is that?
You go out 14, past Valencia and all that.
Yeah.
And it's cold, man.
Yeah.
And then it's raining in the scene, so there's a huge industrial sprinkler above me, and I'm drenched. like to my nutsack, and then there's a wind that is also there. So there's these big, huge fans, as big as this whole panel, like 10 foot diameter fans, and blowing because it's windy and rainy, of course. And then a part of it, I get kicked out the back of this cabin door. And I land, and when we're rehearsing it, there's a pad there. And now the pads are like rubberized, so it's like, so that's all holding the water. So you're basically going into a slip and slide, and then right up to my asshole, I'm soaked. Like it's drenched every portion of clothing that I have, man. And then I'm shivering for the rest of the night, right? And it's a motherfucker. Like,
you need that portable infrared sauna. Is what
so
you
I
need.
had a tent that had a blower in it for a while, but like you're in between, and until the shot's over, you're in it and you're sucking it up and whatever. And I've been, a lot of my friends are team guys, and I start thinking about what that entails, and I think about it at my life right now. I'm like, I can't even speak to who I was if I could have ever done that, but I look at it now and I'm like, God bless them. It wasn't even a conversation of can you or can't you or whatever. I was just like, God bless those guys for doing that thing, because this is a little bit of nothing. This is zero,
right?
And it's miserable,
right?
And so that whole thing, Coach Jackson always used to talk about. He goes, Tait, you got to become comfortable where other men are uncomfortable,
right?
And you think about who speaks to that more than those guys.
No, it's funny because I went through. When I was in ROTC, I went through a Navy dive school. This was after my freshman year of college. I got this. They had one spot for a freshman to go, and I had a high GPA that year.
Damn.
And I got to go to Navy dive school, which was awesome. And there were a couple guys was one guy in my class. I don't remember his name, but he had been to Buds twice. The first time he broke his arm.
Oh my God.
And so he had to go back. And the second time he rang out cold. And this guy's ripped and he shredded, like not an ounce of fat on him.
Are you saying that being ripped doesn't make you tough necessarily?
I don't know that, because you look at the SEALs, right?
I know, man.
You look at the guys that have been SEALs.
Well, who's the SEAL body type?
There's no such thing.
Mine or yours.
Right. There's no such thing.
Yep.
It's all mental toughness.
Crazy.
And, I know I have major issues being cold. Have you done Wim Hof? Have you done the Wim Hof? I got to week 5 where you had to do the 10-minute shower, 10-minute cold shower.
Yeah.
I made it through the shower and I quit. I'm like, I'm done. I don't want any more cold.
I
want
into
hot.
discomfort really well.
Yeah.
As far as like, I ripped my groin in half, and I was doing ice baths, and I was like, well, how many should I do? Like the chiro's talking to him, and he's like, as many as you can stand. I'm like, I'm going to be there till tomorrow then. I'm going to be there till I sleep. And I'd been in and out of 20-minute baths I did 12 sessions. But I'm like, I want to be well. This is what it takes. Bummer if it's uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I get in there, but it's interesting the places we put ourselves and why we put ourselves there.
Yeah. I always thought there's no way I'd make it through Buds. The cold water and
about Buds, they say the guys, because they want more SEALs, they go, the guys that ring out, hey, let's encourage them. Let's try to mitigate our losses. And there's a documentary on this, and they said that when guys are like, dude, I'm done, and I'm done, and they're chattering teeth, and they want out of the water and all that.
Yeah.
Can't hear you, bro. What? You're doing great. Keep it moving. Let's go. And all that. And even when they pull him out and they go, ooh, he's blue. Okay, like let's get him back. Get his body temperature up a little bit.
I think they swallow a temperature sensor, that goes inside their body, and they can monitor with like a gun to tell them like their core temperature.
Yeah. No, you're full of shit. You're not even close to dying.
Right.
Well, they say every guy that originally wants to ring out, that then they talk out of it. They're like, just get back in the water, and they get back in. None of them end up making it. Not one ever. Which is crazy about deciding. Think of this now. We're in a WOD, and it's a time WOD, and we're going, and then the person counting our reps or something is like, good time, because you just finished that round. You've got another round accrued.
Yep.
But it's not the real time, but they're saying it as if it's time. They're saying the wrong cue. And it's close to time. There's 30 seconds left or something. But you go, oh, good, and you collapse and you fall because they said time.
Right.
And then they look up, they're like, oh no, it's not time yet. Go. That person never has that output again.
Right.
They can never get it back. After you decide.
There's a mental quit.
Right?
Like a switch.
It's a trip.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I wonder why they keep doing it.
That's wild.
I wonder why they do it, why they Like, I guess they want to make sure those people get the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And they, but shit, like, no, there's a mental quit that happens.
That mental quit. And you can't, it's a physiological thing.
Yeah.
You can't just decide again. You have to reset the whole structure if you want to get after it again. Like,
yeah, and now my why, I wouldn't have a strong enough why. Like, there'd be no point.
Well, different things are
because I was thinking of going down and doing SEAL Fit, and I couldn't generate a why that was strong enough to why would I do this? No. Like it hurts. It would hurt me, like kind of like the conversation about the, CrossFit and whatnot. So
I can see totally why there's people that do. I'm a corporate guy. I just did this, and I want to test my metal. Everybody wants to test their metal in some way. I think that's another thing. What do you think? I mean, as far as a crucible, there's no more litmus tests for young men to go through. There's no rituals, if you were to bring a guy up, in any kind of Spartan way or any kind of
like a young man, like a teenager.
Yeah, man. What do you go through? I mean, and war is our biggest one.
Yeah, right.
I've tested, or guys. I think that's why guys like fighting and
I wonder if there are. We just don't know. I don't know.
We don't have it culturally.
I can't really think of one.
Culturally, what is there?
I mean, I think of the Boy Scouts, but there's no crucible. There's nothing really
and there's
hard.
There's nothing that's holistic. There's nothing that says, let's go and do the super hard thing, but let's focus an emphasis on kindness, on compassion for your fellow man, on judiciousness, on being ethical, on being selfless. There's nothing like that.
Honoring, honoring spirit, honoring other people.
And where we have that is in war. We get that for our brothers in war.
Right.
Which is a fucking, I mean, you can make an argument for war in that way, but it's also one of the things that I look at is when you see guys and you go, oh, that is a douchebag. He's never been punched in the mouth before. That's his whole problem. He thinks there's no consequence.
Right.
And you have to, I think it's good for me, even right now, to build consequence in my life. I want to do things that have steep consequences.
Yeah.
Because it's the only way I can really dial up my standard anymore.
Right.
And what do you think the importance of that is, and the Marines had to be a huge part of it for that, but what did you think about when you were a little kid? Were you thinking did you think about afterworlds? Did you think about what would I be willing to die for in this world?
No, that didn't cross my mind.
None of that.
No, I never. I mean, look, for me, the Marines was an afterthought. I mean, I was a trumpet player growing up. I didn't do any.
And you were 20 when you joined?
I was so the way it happened for me is I got an ROTC scholarship to go to college.
Right.
And I was a Navy. I had a Navy scholarship. So the Marines some people say the Marines are a branch of the Navy. The Navy's much bigger than the Marine. The Navy's much bigger than the Marines. So the scholarships all came under the branch of the Navy, whether you're Marine or Navy.
Okay.
And you could change your option from Navy option to Marine option. So I had this Navy scholarship, and then I went my second summer. I went for a week. They do what's called Courtramid, which is you spend a week with each branch of the Navy. So you spend a week on a submarine.
Wow.
And it was awesome. I mean, it made me realize I never want to be on a submarine.
Are there certain size guys in submarines?
No, pretty much anybody can go to sub. I mean, for a week. I don't know if they have limitations for long term. Yeah, we sailed from Norfolk down to Charleston.
Comfort-wise, there's a lot of bump in your head in there, I would think.
Yeah, you got to get used to that. The rack space is tiny, and you can't really sit up in bed, or you fucking smash your face into the whatever they're called.
Steel.
You have to duck every time you walk through the door. Hold the doors, the hatches,
because they all have to be sealed.
Yep.
In case.
Yep.
So what are the other branches? Submarines.
So submarines, and then
planes.
with airplanes. And I flew in the back seat of a trainer jet.
Wicked.
Which was awesome. I mean, the most fun amusement park ride I've ever been on in my life. Right. I mean, we did fucking upside down and straight up in the air and falling back down to earth.
They say sometimes when you do those, you can lose consciousness.
Oh yeah, I didn't, but yeah, I'm sure you can.
They do crazy breathing.
You wear a G suit, right? And the G suit pumps. It's got an automatic thing that pumps air pressure into your legs,
right,
to push the blood back up into your heart, so you don't pass out. And you do that move that you just said, that breathing move. There's a name for it. I can't remember what it's called. when the G's get so high that the pressure suit doesn't matter. Yeah. So that didn't happen. I didn't do that. But
and then being on a ship.
And that's the surface week. You also hang out with the SEALs, so you do some workouts with the SEALs, and then the last week was with the Marines. And I came away from that trip. I couldn't be a pilot. I didn't have 20/20 vision, and this is before LASIK and all that stuff. Because my first choice, I wanted to be a pilot, and then I was like, okay, I want to be a SEAL. And I didn't. It was same eye problem. I couldn't do it with my eyes. And then I was like, okay, I'm a Marine. I'm going Marines.
Did you want to be a pilot because of Top Gun?
I don't know. It's just fucking cool. Yeah. Like, I love flying. It's awesome. Yeah. I didn't have this dream when I went in to ROTC.
I guess even the way you said it, the
ROTC.
best amusement park ride ever. Like, after you got a taste of it, you're like, oh shit, this is for me.
Yeah, it was great. But I didn't want to be a backseater.
Right.
I didn't want to, I could have been the navigator.
Give me control.
I wanted to be control.
Yeah.
So and I never really looked at the Marines like it was an alternative or it was a bummer.
Right.
It was always I loved it. I mean, there was never a letdown.
The Navy,
it was phenomenal.
It would beat any kind of the Navy.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, the SEALs would have been
but
cool.
That's not the Navy. But imagine this.
It is the Navy.
I always watch this. But it's not the Navy. I mean, it is the Navy, but let's be serious. That's the Spec Ops, the highest level guys in the world.
Right.
It's not fucking...
It's not the Navy.
I'm washing the decks of the boat.
Yeah.
You sign up for the SEALs. You're 4 years in or whatever your contract is that you sign with them to sign up with the Navy. And then you try out for the SEALs.
And you fucking fail out. Then you're a swabby.
How sad are those guys?
Dude, on a ship somewhere.
Dude, it's got to be horrible.
Oh, that could have been... I mean, there's no guarantee that you make it.
Right. No, there's not. Most people don't.
Most people don't. Right. There were two guys in my college that went SEALs, and they both made it. They were both swimmers.
Crazy.
And tough as nails, and... So the Marines were.
My cousin.
I don't know how we got on that topic,
went into the Marines. He was what we were talking about. Rites of Passage. As a young man.
Right. Yeah, I don't, and I think one of the draws for me in going in the Marines was feeling like, because I didn't really grow up with much of a father figure. My dad was an alcoholic and wasn't around much when I was growing up, and he's a musician, so I didn't get much of the manly side from him. And I felt like
your dad was Taj Mahal.
Say again?
Is it true your dad was Taj Mahal? Or is that not? No.
That's a great rumor.
I heard he's got a lot of kids.
My dad's no longer with us. He passed away 8 years ago.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, a long time.
Did you go?
Did I what?
You go to the funeral and all that?
Oh, of course. Yeah. Of course. Oh no, we had a good relationship after
you became a man.
Yeah, and then he had a stroke, and his whole way of being changed. Like suddenly he cared, and he showed up.
Yep.
But I think for me, the Marines kind of represented a lack of a rite of passage. Like it was like I want to earn my way. I want to prove my way.
Yeah,
in fact, I used to hide the fact that I was a trumpet player when I went in the Marines because I didn't want anyone to put me in some special box and say, oh, you could just play the trumpet in the band. I'm like, no, I don't want to play the trumpet in the band. Give me a fucking M16. Let me crawl around in the mud. Let me prove and earn my way into whatever unit that I'm going to be in. And it's funny. I never really thought about it that way before, but I think now looking back on it, it was a rite of passage.
Part of what built your character.
Absolutely.
It's who you are.
And I didn't really know why at the time. It just made sense, and I really wanted to do it. And I had this pride of
performance that you got through it.
Yeah. And then the pride of the uniform and the pride of the best of the best.
But then you kept doing that. Even after then, like, because you were an adventure racer, is that the right term, right?
Yeah.
And
I started doing
give us a definition of adventure racer.
Well, you're really like a master of nothing. You're like, I always called it triathlons for people with ADD, because you get all there's nothing is linear. Everything is kind of crazy. You're rock climbing. If you're in the water, you're in rapids. You're in a canoe, or you're in a whitewater thing, or you're mountain biking. It's all team based, and you've got to be ready for pretty much anything. Like whether it's mountaineering or jungles or
It's just the chaos of life.
Yeah,
whatever.
And I found that really fun. I love the navigation part. Like you had to find your way, and there was no right way. There was no path. There was no marked route.
That's beautiful thing.
You know, which I loved. It was always a challenge. I mean, we got lost plenty of times.
Did you ever have to
I was
get
the
rescued?
navigator. We one time we did. We were in the Eco Challenge in British Columbia, and we'd had a really rough.
What time of the year? What kind of temperatures?
So this was in. I think this was in like May. So it's like spring melt, like, but there was still snow up at the upper elevations.
That's a dangerous time. That's when people die in the rivers.
Right.
Because they're not expecting them to be so fast, and they're not expecting to be that cold. Like,
absolutely.
It's dangerous.
And
time.
we had to do a lot of river crossings, but we had a really rough time in the first 2 days. We had one of my teammates. The race started.
How many in the team?
5 people on the team.
God damn.
And then 2 support crew. The race started with a 27-mile horseback ride and tie, which meant you got 3 horses and 3 horses for a 5-person team. So 2 people were always running or walking or whatever. And I mean, it's kind of bizarre now in me thinking like that was just the first 5 hours. That was, we kept going from there. Like, fuck. But one of my teammates in the middle of that came down with a lame leg. And he was taking Toradol. Then within 12 hours of the race starting, he was on Toradol, and it slowed us way down.
Is there ever a point where you're like, we should just put him down? We got to put Trey down. Just
absolutely, absolutely. But the minute you lose a teammate, you're out of the race. So like, what do you do?
We got to keep him alive.
We'll drag him. We'll drag him. So we took his load, and but it slowed us way down, and we made a decision at it's like the end of day 2. We were on the bubble of being cut because you have to keep up a certain pace in order to keep up with the field of the race. And we just said, okay, we're going for it. And we did a river crossing. We had to climb about a 3,000-foot slope to get up to these great glacier areas. And we went on like a 36-hour straight sprint. And we passed probably 30 teams. We're doing great. I was navigating. We're hitting every checkpoint, just boom, 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 boom. And I'll never forget, it was about 3 a.m. We hit a checkpoint. I'm bleary-eyed at this point. I'm looking at the map. Our support crew had given us a black and white map as opposed to the color map that some of the other teams had, which kind of fucked us in the long run because I'd written the route in blue, and it looked a lot like a stream.
Yeah.
It looked like a river, and so I figured follow the river.
Right.
Well, and then I couldn't figure out why the compass wasn't reading right. And I'm like, well, the compass always reads right. Like, that's one thing but when you're fucking delirious, you're like, I know I'm supposed to follow the river.
It's not making sense.
The compass isn't making sense. Let's just keep going. I'll figure it out. Well, we went 4 miles in the wrong direction. And then our girl started. We were out of supplies. We knew it was close because we were very close to the transition area, and she started throwing up blood. We're like, okay, we have to stop. And so we stopped. We pitched a tent. We kind of regrouped. We got a little bit of sleep. We got up again. Then we got our bearings, and then we realized how far off we were. We were in the wrong direction, and
what's a little bit of sleep? You rack out.
We got 3 hours of sleep.
And then it start a fire, get warm, and then
no fire. Oh, maybe we did start a fire. I don't remember.
And huddle up and go, which way do we go now?
Well, what do we do? Because she was still in bad shape, and
then you got Toradol Tommy that you're dragging
Toradol
along.
Tommy, right? And we decided how did we make that decision? I think we decided at that moment we had to break out the radio and call for help, and because it was 4 or 5 miles back upstream through some pretty gnarly shit, no trails, all swampy, crappy, and then another 10 miles down to this, because we knew where we were. We figured out where we were.
Right.
But when we broke the radio out, the radio didn't work. So we were literally stuck. We made a huge fire. We started putting greens on the fire to make smoke, to try to, because there were helicopters, but we were off the course. It took them 24 hours to find us. Damn. That we were off course. My friend Tess Sewell was in the rescue helicopter that came and picked us up, And he said, afterwards, he said, Andy, you know, downstream of that, we saw coming in on the helicopter, grizzly was literally like 200 yards from you guys downriver. So it's probably a good thing we came, or a bear. I don't know if it was a grizzly or not, but it was a bear.
Homegirl throwing up blood, not gonna be a good
not
look.
good. So we got rescued.
That's before GPS and all that, or
you're not allowed to use GPS.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I was just wondering, in case like everything goes crazy, they can find you then. But
we didn't have trackers like that. Like I'm sure the technology existed, but I think it was probably pretty clunky
and probably too expensive at the time too.
Yeah, today they probably would put that on you. So
and then you went into business after that. Then you were like, well, I'm going to start training.
Well, I was kind of training people. I just started training people. I was doing massage therapy actually back then when I first started. Yeah,
I can't even imagine. I want to get a massage from you now.
That's why I stopped.
Like, I don't want to do it to the people that want it.
Exactly. So, so it's, so I've had this, you know, I bring all that with me and all the stuff that I do. I bring all that experience. And
what, do you, are there any books that you hold dear, or there, or recent books that you, give away, or that you have?
Yeah. I'm reading a book right now called The Untethered Soul. It's mind-blowing. It's, I mean, I've done a lot of spiritual work. I went to the University of Santa Monica. I went through a 2-year master's degree program for spiritual psychology. This book was one that they had signed us during the program, but I never read. And Mike Bledsoe was talking about it the other day on Instagram, that he had read it, and it was like, he's like, it's in my top 10 books of all time. I'm like, fuck, I need to go back and read that book. And it's a book about consciousness. It's a book about, like, when somebody asks you, Tait, who are you?
Yeah.
How do you answer that question? And that's how the book starts.
Nice.
And it helps because it's very real. Like, it takes you through what most people go through in trying to answer that question.
That's a question that most people, it just stops them cold, and they go, I'm a banker?
I'm a trainer. I'm a banker. I'm a, you know, like, I'm a 37-year-old adventure racer.
Who are you now? You know, like when I moved to LA, and I was like, okay, so you're not the undefeated professional mixed martial arts guy. I mean, you carry your history with you, but nobody knows who you are.
Right.
You don't have any money.
Right.
You don't know anybody. So who are you now? Who are you when you're stripped away of everything?
Right.
And it was the same thing when I quit fighting too. Like, well, who are you now?
And who would you be if you didn't have all those things?
Exactly.
Are you still there?
Who are you?
Is it still
at the base of it all? What is it? What are the things that are your nature?
They pull it back into, like, I kind of picture it in my mind as kind of a tunnel, and like for me, I'm back here, and all these things are things that I've done and things that I've been, and my personality gets pulled in different directions. But at the root of it all, I'm this consciousness that is experiencing life through experiences that my body is participating in.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like you're the light that gets sucked down a hallway, and that hallway is lined with a lot of pictures of different experiences and things, and none of it necessarily it doesn't make the light what it is.
Right.
And then it does. It informs the light of who it is in a way. If you're not careful, you conflate the two.
And when you do,
think you are
that's when you get stuck. That's when you get stuck into these.
Yeah.
That's when you get triggered. That's when you get in these, you know, big life challenges.
All that stuff speaks to this question then also is, and I say God for lack of a better term, because we all kind of know what I'm talking about in a way, loosely, but like, what do you think of God, or what do you think of
God's a motherfucker.
or a universal consciousness, or some kind, like,
I mean, I believe in God. I believe that there's some
and what
spiritual.
Does that mean to you?
I don't know. You know, like I've wrestled with that a lot. When I first went to USM, they started off the very first weekend with a kind of an acknowledgement to spirit and to God, and it felt very preachy and very God, very like church-like.
Right.
Because I'd never really spent any time thinking about separating spirituality from religion. What's the difference?
Okay.
You know, and I kind of had a merge. And over that 2-year program, I kind of realized I kind of I don't know. I realize that this universal consciousness that I actually believe exists. Like there's something that is in all of us. Like, where does this love?
I'm just resistant to how you're telling me about it, but I believe it's there. You know, like that's kind of was my experience.
Right,
you know,
right. Like,
I don't like your verbiage about it or your tone.
As long as it's not used to try to manipulate me or control me or try to tell me what I need to do. Like, it's a universal. It's like I look at it like a kind of love of self and love of other people, and there's something that is running through me that tells me that something exists that's more than what I know.
That's what I think of it all as a mystery.
Yeah,
and I'm comfortable with it being a mystery. I don't need an answer for it or a definition.
I mean, I pray.
Yeah,
I think a lot
of that kind of practice is believing that you're not the be all end all.
Right.
And so it's like a lot of that is just a verbal acknowledgement that I'm not all that there is, and that there's a mystery that maybe there's an answer to that I don't have, kind of thing. You know, and I think it's an important important practice in that regard.
Yeah, and I agree.
I do. I think that's where there's unity. What do you think about finding your purpose as a man, or is that still an ongoing process, and you're just what would you say to that?
Yeah, it's definitely shifted over the years. Now I can say without hesitation that it's being a father. Like my purpose. But that could change as soon as my son's old enough to fend for himself, and I want him to fend for himself. I don't want to be known as Dashiell's dad for the next. Well, I'll always be Dashiell's dad, but I don't want him to rely on me to make his life work. Right. So hopefully I'm transferring the skills that he needs to go out and do his life.
How hard is it when you watch him ride a bike, fall down and skin his knees and not pick him up? Like, how hard is it to let him suffer?
No, it's not like it's easier for me than my wife. It's funny. I once had a teacher that said a man's job is to a husband's job. How did he put it? A husband's job is to go out and let your kids. How does it go? Something like a husband's job or a father's job, a man's job is to go out and allow your kids to get hurt for the sake of learning, and a wife's job is to only let them get hurt just a little bit, just enough. And so, like, I'm much more. I'm much looser with rules, and I still make him wear a helmet when he rides his bike, but I'm going to let him get away with a lot more stuff than my wife will. I want him to. Like, it's part of growing up. I'm like, the kids are wrestling in the backyard or playing Smear the Queer, and
I don't think you can say that anymore.
Erase that. That's what we used to call it. What do you call it now? Catch the guy and tackle him with the guy with the ball. That's the game.
Yeah.
That's all we called it. Growing, I don't know what else.
It's weird. Like, all
we
that
played it
stuff
all
that
the time when I was growing.
But like, you look at like Jerry Lewis, and that is like mockery of Japanese people. What he did in those TV shows way back, right? Like, horrific. Like, you look at that aghast.
Right.
And that's what I think too. Like, all these things that we're talking about. Like, you motherfuckers didn't know what was going on. Where they're like, hey, mind what your grandmother's saying or whatever. I'm like. So we follow all these dictates, whether it's of religion, whether it's of marriage, whether it's of what your conventional job ought to be, by people that are maybe not necessarily killing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's a lot of examples around of like, wait, you don't really have it figured out, but you're telling me how to do it. And I mean, that Jerry Lewis thing just made me think of that. But it's like, you don't have it dialed in at all. There's room for growth all the time, and as the world is an ever-changing thing, goddamn.
It's like your purpose.
Yeah.
Like, your purpose is going to change. I think. I think it evolves.
Yeah.
Like, when I was just running the gym, my purpose was to help people transform their lives.
Right.
That was my purpose. I could have convinced you at the time that was my life's
that's
job.
That's not the whole thing, because you got a lot of coaches that are in your spot. They're going, my purpose is that so I get noticed as a coach. And that's a lot of the things about being an immature trainer.
Yeah.
Is that you get into that position where you're like, you're not there to help people and service people. You think that it's some kind of service of your ego. It's so important to be self-contemplative, but also fully in action all the time.
There's another book, Loyalty to Your Soul, which is a book that was written by the two people that Ron and Mary Hulnick. They run the program at University of Santa Monica, and they put it in the book. They talk about how your soul's on a journey, and your soul chooses. This is the way that I interpret their writing about this. Your soul chooses its body. It chooses its path. You choose your parents, right, coming in, because you're choosing to learn, to experience some version of life. Like whatever it is that happens in your life, you've chosen that path.
Yeah.
And your soul is trying to heal unresolved issues around that thing, whatever it is. It could be, your parents get divorced. It could
be. Now you think historically, though, many lives, many masters kind of thing, like where you've been transcendent throughout the ages and immortal in your soul.
You keep coming back, and you keep learning, and at some point So
you think you were a princess in Romania in 1532, maybe? But there's like, you know what I mean? There's those possibilities that are out there,
Yeah. So and then they talk about like what they call our stackers, and stackers the concept is these guys, these stackers, will continue to throw your issue at you until you've figured out a way to resolve that issue
it's
inside.
Like a spiritual gadfly.
Yeah. And they keep testing you. They keep testing you with the same shit. Like you ever wonder why the same shit keeps happening in your life? Well, the explanation in the book is they're stackers, and the stackers keep throwing the shit at you to test you.
And when the weight gets heavy enough, you'll have to notice it.
Once it's resolved, the stackers stop.
I think I always say in microcosms, they mimic the macrocosms. And just like in that, like what you're saying, I was talking on an earlier show about like bills. Got plenty of money in the bank. I hate writing the check, so I'm not writing the goddamn check. But that check on the counter, the bill on the counter, it doesn't get lighter when I leave the house and it's weight on me all the time.
Absolutely.
And the weight gets heavier even if the bills don't duplicate.
I've had to learn to love paying bills.
And so you have to let it go.
It's bizarre.
You just do it, and you set it up, and you let it go. And when that can happen, when you just do things instantly, it's the importance, I think, of expediting whatever it is you're doing.
You know who talks about that is Dan John. Dan John, I just did a podcast. You don't know Dan John?
No.
He's a discus thrower, and he's a Fulbright scholar.
How big is he?
He's a big guy. He's probably 250.
I was going to say, I know another discus thrower, and he's a big son of a bitch. Powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
I taught him how to box, and God, I don't like that day.
He lives in Utah. He's been a strength and conditioning coach forever.
Killer,
He's in his 50s, I think. And he's a fascinating guy. He's a very prolific writer. He writes constantly. And
it's DANJOHN?
Yeah, DANJOHN. He talks about how his life, he's got he calls them shark. He calls it like shark habits, and he makes decisions on the spot and doesn't like, hey Tate, you want to go to the party tomorrow night, and you're leaving town, or you're driving out of here, and your plan was to leave at 5:00. He makes a decision on the spot and doesn't hem and haw, like, nope, I can't go, sorry, I'm leaving town, as opposed to hemming and hawing for 24 hours, trying to figure out whether, maybe it's worth it to stay, maybe it's not worth, I don't really have to leave. I don't really, he's like, that shit is just energy sucks. And when you organize your life and your decision-making process around making quick decisions around things that you can make quick decisions
and
about.
Even if the decision is, no, I'm changing my plans, I'm staying.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. But you haven't had it weighing on you like a kettlebell around your neck. You know?
You don't get strangled in a second. It takes time.
Right.
You work in that choke, and then it takes seconds. But if somebody just grabs a choke for a second, a half a second, it means nothing.
Yeah.
But it's the hanging that fucking kills you.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
So I really got a lot out of that. I'm like, cool. Wow, I wonder where are the areas that I'm doing that,
right?
And how can I free those up? Because it just is an energy suck.
Yep.
That is not productive.
It's cool, man. I like that. I like all that stuff that heightens up my discipline and my commitment to things. I guess that dude Jocko Willing. It's weird how there's things that just echo in the universe and that other people. It's all. But he had a quote that he'd said.
He's a Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah. And he'd said something like, about commitment is freedom or discipline is freedom or something like that. But that was something that I've been toying with a few years ago, with the idea of like commitment and what that is, and that I used to never I don't want responsibility, commitment, discipline. You can miss me with all that shit, until I really thought about what it was, and I put it in the context of wrestling, and I go, I can teach you all the mechanics of a shot and changing your level and all, but I can't teach you commitment, the drive to do it, and and that with that commitment, it's freedom. And it's like, and if you're not committed everywhere in your life, whether it's your job, whether it's writing a thank you note to somebody,
it's a habit.
Whether it's if you're not doing that well, and if you're not doing it well, you're not living well. And why don't you want to live well? And once you get to the truth of the real questions about that, which is why don't you want to live well, you'll stop slacking in other parts of your life, and the horizon gets broader.
You got to have the courage, though, to go down that rabbit hole. You know, why? Why? Ask the 5 whys,
and be around the right motherfuckers.
Right.
Because there's most people aren't asking those questions.
Right.
Get around those people that are challenging with the questions. That's been the biggest thing for my life. I surround myself only with aces, because I don't have time for anything else.
Right.
I can't do it. I'm not going to be as fruitful to other people, and I'll get depressed and want to quit.
Bring around people that will that pull you up.
It's exactly like what you were saying about if I have a Fitbit and I can track what my progress is, it doesn't beat having a partner.
Right.
Because I'll quit on myself and on that goddamn Fitbit.
Right.
But if you and I agree that we're going to do this thing, you know what? I told Andy I'm going to do it, and I'm here with him. We're doing it.
Right.
You know, I'm going to do the full 5 rounds.
I'm
not
showing
going
up.
to do the
I'm showing up at 4. I wouldn't show up at 4 if I didn't feel like getting up and there was nobody to meet. But
create that community, man.
Right.
Tell us about. We've been at it 90 minutes. Tell us about Whole Life Challenge. The setup of it, where people can find it and stay in touch.
So we do the Whole Life Challenge 3 times a year. The next one starts in mid-September. If you'd like to do it, and you can sign up now. I mean, it's a long time out. They find it at wholelifechallenge.com. The best way to play the Whole Life Challenge is with a group. So if you, your friends, your family, the closest people to you in your life, and the reason some people would say, well, you're saying that because you want more people in the challenge. Absolutely, I do. But you will have a more profound experience, and you'll have a greater impact on your life when the people that are most important to you play alongside you.
It's the truth, man. That's my experience.
And so I'm good. Actually, more tea would be great.
Do you want tea? Do you want MCT in your tea?
Sure. Let's try it. See what happens. So the next challenge
happens January.
There's one in January,
and then
September, and then there's this year it's May. I think next year we're playing around with the beginning of June.
Because we just started it at my gym. We're doing May right now.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the Whole Life Challenge. There's some of the exciting things we have coming is we're rapidly working on our Android app, which we only have an iPhone app right now. The iPhone app is fantastic.
That's racist,
it's a game changer.
By the way.
Yeah. What?
To only have an iPhone.
I know.
You know what? I almost want to buy an Android phone just so that the technology of I need competition. They need competition. Apple can't be the. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
are you an iPhone guy?
Yeah. And all my people that are the Android, they're like, you're an idiot. They're owning you. You can't even. It's not even. I'm like, I'm not smart. I need it to be so simple.
I almost made the conversion one time, but then I thought about all the apps that I had that I would have to go rebuy. I'm like,
but now the way they fucked you, the way iTunes fucks you, it's like what they've done. And if you have your own music on your, like you've been saving on a hard drive or something, God help you if you upload it to iTunes, because it'll erase some of those that it doesn't recognize.
Really?
And then if you have I've got Let There Be Blood by AC/DC, a 1976 live tour in Toronto. It'll go, here's Let There Be Blood, the radio version of what
Really?
It'll, because it's like it. And so there's that stuff that happens. Wow. Composers have bitched about it. They're like, this is my own music and I've lost my own music, because you sign a waiver that iTunes can adjust or shit that you don't think they would ever do.
Wow.
And so the growing technology is also a thing that's muting us in different ways.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Anyway, we could go on and on. Whole Life Challenge.
WholeLifeChallenge.com. And I'm Andy at WholeLifeChallenge.com if you want to email me.
Andy Petranek on Snapchat.
Andy Petranek, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, all the same. Andy Petranek. So easily found. And I'm in Santa Monica. I train at CrossFit LA. You can find me there 3 or 4 days a week.
Widely regaled. Thank you so much, man. You've been a mentor and somebody I just admire so much, and appreciate in my life. And
likewise.
And what you've meant, and then the growth that we've had as friends together, together and separately has been just phenomenal. And I'm really honored that we are friends still, and it's a beautiful thing, man. And
Cool.
so thanks for joining us, and all you guys listening, thank you. Hope you're having a great day, and please, like I say, man, just go hug somebody, man. It's easy. The biggest lie that we tell ourselves is that we're all alone, and that shit is a horrible illusion. Find me at taitimusmaximus on Snapchat, or just my name, Tait Fletcher, everywhere else. It's been Pirate Life Radio. Thanks to Paleo Fx for having us, and much love. Praise Odin.